Welcome into the Holton Ahlers Show. Great addition. John David Baker joins us, OC of the Pirates. A lot of hype going into the season. We'll see how it goes. Hope you enjoy the show. If not, as always.
Holton Ahlers turns, and Holton will take off and run himself. He's at the 40-yard line. Holton Ahlers to the 30. Look at him go! 20, 10, 5, touchdown Pirates!
There's local politics, bud.
It's showtime!
Welcome back in, Coach. Welcome in. I opened it up with Coach Houston 2 weeks ago. I'm just going to straight up ask you, who's the starting quarterback?
You know, anytime I go anywhere and talk to somebody, that's the first question. There's nobody that's trying to hide it, so I respect it, though. But, hopefully we'll figure that out in the next few weeks.
I'm excited. When you go and get Caton, and everyone was obviously pumped about it, and he seemed, through the media's eyes and the fans' eyes, we're like, all right, we finally got our guy. And then you go get Jake Garcia. What went into go getting two guys, really, and then how hard was it to get a second guy when you already had, obviously Caton?
Yeah, really the thought was, and I've said this before, but just trying to create as much competitive depth as we possibly could.
Yeah.
That was something that I had learned from the previous place I was at, as far as, don't ever be scared to hurt somebody else's feelings by bringing another good player in the room, because at the end of the day, if these guys think they're as good as they are, they want to go play at the next level. Guess what? Your job's online every. You know that better than anybody.
Yeah.
Your job's online every day, and so trying to create that atmosphere and create that type of competitive depth in the room was something that I really wanted to do, and I was glad we were able to do it. As far as how hard it was, that was the cool thing about it, was that there was no real selling point other than, dude, you have a great chance to come here and compete. Play in a fun offense, and that's both of them were like, that's what I want. I just want a chance to compete, and that's all you can really ask for. Is
that how it's been so far? Is how's their relationship been? Because that's a weird relationship to be in. You're competing for the job. You're not going to be best friends, and they're new transfers. They're trying to get to know the team better. How's that relationship been from your viewpoint?
That was a part that you just never really know.
Yeah.
But it's been good, and of course there's been times where it's been heated, but I'm glad.
Good.
You know what I mean? That means they both want it. And so that's been the cool thing, though. They've had a mutual respect for one another, because, they can sit there and watch the other and be like, dang, he can sling it. And so there's no denying the athletic ability, the ability they both have to throw the football. So I think they've got a mutual respect in that aspect, but they're competing, but that's what we wanted.
Yeah. When you that gets me pumped up that they were getting fired up, because I love that. You got to. In that situation, look, you can't be best buds with someone. You can respect them, like you said, but as far as when you're competing with someone, someone's got to win the job, and they both know that. Going into camp, what is something you're kind of looking for, between both of them to kind of take the lead, and be QB1?
Really, it's two things for me. It's just consistency, day in and day out. Be the same guy. Just stay within the offense. Don't try and do too much, because we've got enough pieces around them that they don't have to go be Superman. I just need them. We call ourselves the mailmen. Deliver the mail. That's all you got to do. That's the most consistent job in the country. Just do your job. And the other thing is just eliminate turnovers, because for us as an offense, we're going to create explosives. It's built into the offense. It's built in with our players. We've got explosive dudes, and so we're going to be explosive. If we'll limit turnovers and protect the football, we can go win a lot of football games. And so for whoever the guy is going to be, if he can go do those two things, those for me are the two things I want to see.
That was something that I learned later in my career, especially in college, is especially those long third downs. That's when you really want to press the ball down the field when you're young. But then, third and, 4th and 5. Coach Houston likes to go for it, too, on 4th down. That's something that I talked to Caton about yesterday. You talked about your previous stop, obviously, at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's one of the best, offensive minds in college football, and has been for a while. What did you learn under him that you'll kind of implement in this offense?
Probably the biggest thing I picked up at Ole Miss was just the tempo piece. I'd always been a part of spread it out, an air raid background for the guys that I worked for before Coach Kiffin. So the tempo piece came into it, but also just his mindset as far as how you run a unit or how you run a program, how there are no excuses, and you don't take no for an answer.
Yep.
Like there is no. That's the thing I respect probably the most about Coach Kiffin is that there's a way, and you got to get creative in finding a way, but there's always a way, and so that's probably been the thing that I've tried to convey to our guys, and I think sometimes they look at me crazy, but that's okay because I looked at Coach Kiffin the same way, but it made me better because it made me uncomfortable, and it made me figure out different ways of doing things that I hadn't done before, and so that's what we tried to do with our guys, and they've done a great job to pick up on that and learn how to do it as well.
This interview is brought to you by Anson Belt. Look, Anson Belt is a true Pirate company. John David Baker will be wearing it on game days, although he'll be in the booth, which we just talked about. Anson Belt's a true Pirate company. Look, over 10,000 combinations of holeless, micro-adjustable belts. And what's cool about it is you can mix and match the buckle. Look, they have a lot of cool American flag buckles. They have a lot of cool leathers, even animal skin leathers. So check them out, ansonbelt.com. Also want to give a shout out to Worth Chiropractic, 2 convenient locations on Arlington Boulevard. Get you back to being you. Call 1-800-BACK-DOC. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Dr. Worth kept me on the field when I was a Pirate, and he's a great visit. Even if you're not an athlete, he will make you feel a lot better if you have everyday back and neck pain. Next, I want to give a shout out to Clean Eats. Look, summer. Do you have the summer bod or do you need the summer bod? You're either in two spots. If you have it, you got to keep it. Go eat at Clean Eats. If you need it, go to Clean Eats because that's what's going to get you there. I probably need to eat a little bit more of Clean Eats, but their food is delicious. Most of their meals are under $8. They don't add any extra sugar to it, which sugar is a huge thing, which I have learned and talked about a lot on this show. And they got great shakes. Earl's a big fan. He's going to tell you in a second. Earl, tell us the exact address of where Clean Eats is, just because I can't remember that off the top of my head.
Yeah, be sure to check out Clean Eats. They're on Arlington Village off of Red Banks Road. And during the summertime, try a nice cold shake. They got the chocolate peanut butter shake that I enjoy as well. So it's something to enjoy there as well.
Earl's a fan of the chocolate peanut butter shake. They got a lot of them. They got made-to-order food. They got pre-made meals, frozen meals. You can also meal plan with them. Check them out at Clean Eats.
Well,
you obviously, being under him, had opportunities to go elsewhere. I mean, that offense in his mind, like, it's spread around college football now. What was it about ECU? Because, look, I mean, it's not an easy job going. They went 2-10 last year. If you don't win this year, a lot of people think y'all won't be here. Like, what was it about this job, this team, that, thinks you can get it done?
That's a good question. To me, and I'll be honest, like, I was very, very selective over the last couple of years of where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
One, because I was in a great situation. I had a great relationship with Coach Kiffin. I loved our kids, loved our staff. I loved living in Oxford. To me, what people don't realize is how hard it is to get these jobs.
Yeah.
Whether it's an offensive coordinator job, whether it's a head coaching job, you don't realize how hard it is. And even as much success as we've had there, like, I had opportunities, but probably not as many as you think.
Really?
And so for me, it was finding the right place that, one, I thought could be competitive year in and year out, that had resources that are going to give you what you need to win.
Yep.
And then go play in what I think is competitive conference. And for me, this place checked all those boxes. And then once I got around the people, once I got around Coach Houston, then I felt comfortable uprooting myself and my family from a great situation to go maybe, like, in college football, there's pressure every year.
Yeah.
At Ole Miss, if they don't go win a bunch of games this year with the roster they have, guess what? They'll be on that staff saying, Coach, like, it's a year-by-year deal, so it don't matter where you're at. You're playing under some type of pressure. The thing about us is, and we try to be like this everywhere we've been, like, this is still football, man. And I got into this to be a high school football coach and somehow found myself in college.
Yeah.
So there is no pressure, man. Like, we go do what we're supposed to do. We'll go win football games. I ain't worried about the rest.
I love it. And just betting on yourself, too. And I've heard that, like, with Caton, too, and just, like, Rajay and talking to the guys is, like, they're fired up about the offense. The fans, obviously, are fired up about this offense. Because if you look at the history of the American, like, these up-tempo offenses, those are the teams that win games, that go put up a ton of points. Like, this offense is built for this conference. So,
right.
little bit weird. I don't know if you've ever played a triple option team, but you got 2 of those games this year. I don't even know if you've gotten this far into like game planning and thinking like that. Would that be any different for you going into it? Because that's a totally different game.
It's funny you say that. This is 2016 and 17. I'm at the University of North Texas. We play Army twice in 2016. Ooh. We go up to West Point, and we beat them at West Point, and then we actually had to turn around and play them in the bowl game and lost.
Oh, that's brutal.
Lost in overtime. And then it was a home and home series with them. So then they came to Denton in 2017, and we win in a shootout. Like it's like 52-49.
The heck?
And so, like to your question, that's what people always say. Oh, you're playing a triple option team, and you're going to be limited possessions. Well, not if they go score every time they touch the ball. So it's when we played those guys those times back in North Texas, we try not to change our mindset. You can't because then you start putting pressure on every drive,
and every throw, and
we got to score. Right?
Yep.
You got to take the same approach and just like, dude, we got the ball. We're expecting to go score. Because I think if you do try to say like, oh, we're only going to get 8 possessions in this game, now you're magnifying every one of those, and that's the last thing we want to do.
Well, good thing about Navy too is they run the same defense we run from the same coaching tree. Yep. So that was always good. I'm pretty sure they still do. I'd imagine so. So that was always good preparing for that. When you're talking about Denton, Texas, I was in Arlington. I love that area. It's great.
It is a great area. It's growing like crazy. I'll be interested when we go there later in I guess October, November, and play them. How much it's changed? It's because whenever I left in 18. They were in the middle of just a ton of construction.
Yeah.
They were building an indoor. But so I'm sure it's changed a ton, though.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, everyone always asks the food. As a North Carolina native, Texas is the better food by far, in my opinion.
Well, then as a North Carolina native, I feel safe with – I agree. And as far as like – and I like the – don't get me wrong. I like the barbecue.
It's
here.
good.
It is really, really good. But I'm a biased Texan, and it's hard for me to say that it's better than
I agree.
Yeah. So I feel if people come after me,
I'm going to come after me first.
I'm like Holton said it first, so I'm good.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Yeah, I had to throw that in there. What has been something that's maybe surprised you about Greenville or ECU that you maybe thought you knew, but not to the extent of what it is now?
I mean, I knew coming in just the support, but I didn't realize how it's not only just Greenville, it's really this region.
Yep.
Like it is truly this region of Eastern North Carolina, and how deep the roots are and how deep the passion is for not only the program but for the university. And really for me getting to go and doing a couple of speaking events at Pirate Club things and things like that, I got to sense that and feel that. And so I knew here locally the support was there, that people cared. But when you get out to these different places and you realize like, dang, it really does represent a region of the state.
Yeah.
And for me, like I grew up in West Texas. That's how like Texas Tech was for us. Like, you were either a Tech fan or really an A&M fan because of all the agriculture where we were. But really for us, Texas Tech represented all of West Texas. And that I get the same sense that I did growing up there as I do here in Greenville.
East of 95 is literally like ECU. And then obviously rest of North Carolina too, there's a ton of ECU fans. But east of 95, there's no question who people are pulling for. When you look at this team, and you've talked about the speed, was a draw to coming here the defense? Because like Coach Harrell had them rolling last year. They have a ton of guys returning. Like, was that a draw into coming here?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it 100% was, just because it's really because I have such a confidence in what we do and a belief in our system, that I know we can go score. And if those guys, which I knew they had a bunch coming back, that they were going to go be able to do what they did last year and maybe be even better. I knew we would have the ability to go score points, and now all of a sudden, and if you even look at last year, like
they were in games,
they were 2-10, but I mean they're probably a total of 20 points from
Yeah.
being 6-6, 7-5. So me feeling like being confident in the sense of being able to go score some points and pair it with that defense, that 1,000% had, a factor in having a chance to come here.
Who do you think is a player that maybe fans don't know of yet or maybe forgotten about that could surprise people this fall?
That's a good question. Jari Patterson.
Really?
Yes.
Jari.
Jari
That makes me happy that you say that.
Jari fits in what we do. Jari is explosive. Jari's one of those guys where you've got to find ways to get the ball in his hand, different ways. And trust me, this is, and I've said this to the guys so they know it too. And I think people think I'm BSing when I say this. Like, this is the deepest receiver room that I've probably ever had. Like at Ole Miss, we had really, really good players. Like those first 3 to 4 guys could go, but there was a noticeable drop off. And so, but for us, like when that second group rolls in there, I don't even like calling them second group. Like we could go win a ton of ball games with that group. And so but it helps us because of how we play. We need those.
You need
legs.
them, yeah.
We need all of them, and so we're going to find different ways to get all those guys involved. But if you want one guy, he flashed a bunch this spring, and he's a guy that we got to use. We got to find ways.
Dude, that makes me happy because like Jari's one of those guys that he just needed someone to believe in him enough to like what you're saying, literally, because he always had the potential. He's quick, he can catch, he can move, and when the ball's in his hands, like he was young when I was with him. But every time the ball touched his hands, he was ready to roll. So that makes me excited to hear that.
I think it was our first spring scrimmage, and he catches a ball for a touchdown, and it was after the scrimmage. He's just like, dude, I've never scored a touchdown, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, that's going to change.
Yeah.
So, but he's a guy that had a great spring, and I'm excited to watch him.
Let's go. How is the offensive line? Because in the history of ECU football, it's been tough. I mean, obviously, the big guys are going to go to the SEC, the Big Ten. It's tough to recruit offensive linemen here. How has that been so far?
I love our group up front, and a couple of reasons why. Because those guys, you've got older guys that have played a lot of football, and I don't care. You can say whatever you want about results last year. Experience is experience.
Oh, absolutely. Especially up front.
That's right, and they've logged a lot of snaps. I love those guys too because of the experience. They are also our guys that are. We got a lot of guys that are bought in, but those guys up front, talk about Dustin, Parker, Hamp, Darius, Coach, like all them cats are bought in, and they're the guys that are up front leading, and so that's the part that really, really fires me up because, they know this more than anybody. Like we're only going to be as good as they are.
Absolutely.
The other piece is that we, because of how we play and how we do things, and I've talked about this a little before, like we created a little bit of advantage for those guys up front. The way that we play is, we do that every week. Well, guess what? That D-line, they don't do that every week.
Yeah.
It's like preparing for a triple option. Like you got to prepare to play a tempo team. It's a pain because now you're having to go play X amount of more snaps a game. And that's where skill-wise at Ole Miss, we had what we needed to go win, but we didn't have what we needed up front. We were able to – it's really an equalizer for those guys up front because you can tire out a D-line. You can get them out of doing certain things by playing the way we play. I'm extremely excited about them. I think they got a chance to be really, really good. I really do.
Good. That makes me excited. I'm sure a lot of ECU fans are going to be excited to hear that. When I talked to Coach Houston, he said you were going to move up to the box. What went into that decision? Because that's a huge difference, and like a lot of people might go slept under the rug, but like that is a big deal. And like, obviously, I just want to kind of get your take on that.
Yeah, it's weird. Like my whole career, I've been in the box until I got to Ole Miss. Yeah, and so because I came from obviously the air raid background. Well, every air raid guy, whether it's Coach Leach, Lincoln, Graham was the same way. Like they all called plays from the field.
Yeah.
And so they've always got somebody they trust up in the box. Well, I was that guy for Graham.
Oh, dang. Okay.
And so I was up there for 6 years with him. And so that's where I just got used to seeing the game, and I love it up there. I mean, it's like you're playing a video game.
It's like you're watching film.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can see the whole field, and so then the way that we kind of operate with how we do signals and things like that. I was down on the field at Ole Miss, but I knew more than likely whenever I started calling it again, I would probably want to go up just because of being able to see it like that, and you're just removed from the emotions of the
Absolutely.
game. Like it's quiet, safe space. Yeah. It's easy to think up there. So that was the big thing, and our guys know this. The importance of there's a direct line of communication between me and the quarterbacks, and that is it. Nobody else talks to them because it's so important for us to be speaking the same language.
Yep.
To where even if another coach tries to help those guys and tell them something, but they say it or use a different phrase than I would, that's a totally different communication of those guys. So our guys are coached up on that. The staff, they all know it. So I've gotten zero concerns about being up there. I'm excited to go back up.
Oh, really. I bet so. Yeah, like I said, especially like watching film and getting up there. I've never been up there. I've always wanted to. I thought it'd be cool. And then you talked about on the sideline. That's great to hear about the coaching that because it's so emotional down there, whether it's highs or lows. Like, right. But as a quarterback, you got to be zeroed in no matter what it is. You really can't get high or low. I was really fortunate to have like good walk-ons that were there that could be like the guys that I would kind of just not calm me down or like hype me up, but they knew exactly kind of what I needed.
Yep.
How has Raheem Jeter been so far? Because he's been the guy that's been here for a little bit and kind of got forgot about because other two. How has he been in the spring and the summer?
He's been great, and that's that was the thing that I made sure we did a great job of making sure he didn't get lost in the shuffle. Yeah. Especially because he's still young.
Absolutely.
That's the thing about these other two guys. Like they're in their third, fourth years of college. Well, Raheem's going into a second.
Yeah.
So like, yes, he may not be in it right now, but that doesn't mean he won't be a year from now. Because he's got all the physical tools. He's got to still develop, and he's got things he's got to work on, and he knows that. But as far as knowing the offense, wanting to be good, asking the right questions, he checks all those boxes. And so I'm excited about Raheem, and Raheem's excited too because he knows the places where he can get better. And he's seen a difference in the short time that we've been here of just his game developing and kind of taking another step. So I'm excited where Raheem's at. And knock on wood, I've been through a lot of different seasons where we've had to use multiple guys. So we got to get as many of those guys in the room ready to play as possible.
Well, it sounds like you at least have two ready to go in. The Raheem's kind of the developmental guy. Do you guys have a timetable of when you would like to name a starter? Like, do you guys want it, 2 weeks out, or do you have a set timetable, or just when it happens?
Really, it'll be a natural deal of kind of when it happens. For me, I want it to be as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But I'm also, and Coach Houston and I are on the same page. We won't rush it. Good. I know that. But to me, the sooner we can do it and the sooner that we can make that guy feel comfortable and get him as many reps with that first group, the better. And so, again, having a sense of urgency to figure it out, but also just let it happen because, the last 2 seasons, we've gone through a quarterback battle and we've taken it all the way through the first game, which that is not the plan here. So we've done it different ways, but hopefully as soon as possible we can.
Do you have a plan of playing two at all? Is that an option, or you guys are like, we're using one guy and he wins it?
No, that's not something that we've ever really talked about. And me personally, and Coach Houston the same way, that's not something I really believe in.
Good.
Like you gotta roll with the guy, but you also got to make sure when you do go with one of them, he's got to know, like, you throw a pick, the first drive, it ain't going to be getting yanked. He's got to know, yes, I'm the guy, and we're riding with you, good, bad, or indifferent, let's go. And so that to me is really, really important.
Yeah, when you're a quarterback and you're looking over your shoulder, that's never good.
No.
No matter if it's a non-conference game, a conference game, like no matter when you're playing, in practice even. Like you just can't be looking over your shoulder. So that's when like competition's good, and as you know, but then like eventually someone's got to be the guy, and hopefully they take over sooner, like you said, rather than later. When you look at this season, there's not like last year they started with Michigan. You're used to playing these huge SEC games. Like the schedule is lighter than it has been in the past, but it also gives potential to go win 12 games literally this year.
That's right.
When you look at it, like, is there a game that stands out of your other than the next game? I know that's like what everyone says. Is there a game that stands out that you're excited for?
You know, it I'm not trying to be cliche, but like the sole focus is on that first one. And the biggest reason for that is for us as a unit, the main thing we've got to go do is and we've been working for 6-7 months on it, is creating an identity of who we want to be and how we want to do it. But also a lot of that comes with, we got to build confidence. And the only way to go build confidence is to go roll people off the football and go score a ton of points. And so that is the big time focus. Now, when you start getting into summer stuff and you start trying to get ahead on some opponents, you start looking, at the App State game. That one's exciting because it's going to be a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
Come back here 2-0 to Dottie Ficklin. It's going to be rocking. But also, you love the chance to go on the road and play a team like Liberty. And I had the opportunity at North Texas in 2018 to go up there. It's a great atmosphere. And we went and beat the dog out of them. So hopefully we can go repeat it. But those two obviously. But then you turn right around and come home against UTSA, who's a really, really good football team, really good football program. Coach Traylor does a great job. We got a lot of games on there I'm excited about.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I try, like you said, I try not to get ahead of myself and just focus on that first one. But there are games on there that you look at and like, all right, let's go get to that one and have a great record and go play a great football game.
Absolutely. First impression's huge. That first game, obviously, for people to see the new offense. We've heard about it. A lot of people don't realize this offense. You always hear about the pass. Like a lot of these offenses have really good run games too.
Yeah.
Have the running back? Who are some running backs that we should see this fall that we should expect to see?
Hopefully, a bunch of them. And that's the nice thing is that I feel like we've got a good room. Because we roll guys just like those receivers, we'll roll those running backs. That's what's exciting me is that I feel like that room had a great spring, and you didn't even have Rajay going.
Yeah.
And I think he fits our stuff really well. But you're right, it is a huge misconception with this offense, and probably some of me just with my air raid background. But this thing is built on running the football, and then once you're able to do that a little bit, everything else kind of opens up. And so I'm excited to see those guys and get Rajay in the mix, because I think we'll have a better feel of exactly what it will look like come August 31st.
So that's what you told Coach Houston in the interview. You had to. He heard you talk about the run game. He was like, all right, yeah, I got it. Earl, what do you got?
Yeah, you were mentioning the tempo and everything along those lines and rolling out a different amount of guys. Is there how important is it with this type of offense to have more depth than just like the top 3-4 receivers, to have those good 5th, 6th, 7th guys, because they might see more time this year because of just the pace of the offense, and the same thing with the running backs. How you said you want to roll a bunch of them. How important is it that the depth has to be there as well for those positions?
Yeah, it's huge, and that's where, like I said earlier, this is the deepest receiver room I've had. Probably same with the tight end room and the running back room. I mean, all of our skill spots. It's huge for us because if you look, and nobody probably notices this stuff except for us, because when you get done with seasons, you kind of look back and evaluate yourself. But at Ole Miss, we were not a great fourth quarter team. We weren't a great fourth quarter team, and we weren't a great second half of the season team as far as scoring points. And we attributed that to, like I said earlier, we had those first 3 or 4 guys were really, really good. They could go play anywhere in the country. But after that, there was a drop-off. So those guys were playing 90% of the snaps, and we were not rotating those guys. Well, that's great, those first 2 or 3 quarters, but you get to the fourth quarter and you've played 85, 90 snaps, like that's an issue. Those guys are tired. I don't care how good a shape you're in. And so we saw a drop-off there, and we always tried to tell ourselves, like, we got to rotate guys. We got to keep them fresh, and it was just something we were never able to do. That, to me, is a huge deal for us, having that depth, that where I feel like, and I hope that we can be a great fourth quarter team. When we get into the second half of the season, our guys are going to be fresher. than we've ever been to be able to play consistently week in and week out.
Coach, the OCs that I've been around, and like you hear the great ones of like they let the quarterback kind of implement what they like within the offense. How much of it will be like, I know the call sheet, I don't even know if a lot of fans know this, but you have a call sheet of like your third downs and pretty much everything you're going to run throughout the game. How much will the quarterbacks, will you meet with them and know like their list of plays going into it?
That is huge, and that's really something that I got from Graham, because that was a huge deal with Coach Leach. Coach Leach is one of his big deals, like on third downs, he used to give the quarterback a formation, and then he'd give him like whatever it is, check.
Yep.
And the quarterback would check a play. He would call his own play. And the thought process behind that was, whatever he's calling, it means, one, he likes it. It means he's confident in it.
Yeah.
And so his chances of being successful are exponentially greater. And it's the same way for us. We don't go quite that far as Coach Leach.
Yeah.
But going into a game, there won't be a call on that sheet that the quarterback does not love.
Good.
Because, like I said, if he's having to think about, okay, what are they doing on this, or I've screwed them already.
Yeah.
And so that is huge to me, those guys knowing everything we're doing, but loving and feeling confident in what they're doing.
When you, I know some OCs are different. Like, do you have a designated day where you're like, the call sheet needs to be done? I mean, you're always tinkering it, but like I like to have the call sheet done at least somewhat by Thursday so I could look at it too and then watch film that way. Like, do you have a goal on that of kind of when you want it done?
Thursday's nice because of, it's set up that way that you can walk through the whole script on Thursday, and it's all in. Now, the other piece I will tell you, and this is another deal from Coach Kiffin, of you never stop coaching.
Yeah.
And so it may be Friday night and we feel like we got something good and we want to do it. Our guys are smart enough, they can handle it.
You can add stuff.
And we can add stuff. And now I don't want to do that a bunch, but it is something that before that I've been like, dude, no way. Like that, like we can't do that. But we have created explosive plays. We've created touchdowns on Saturday mornings, or drawn it up in the dirt on the sideline on Saturday. So that's Thursday's kind of where you want it, but it is not a not a hard cap. Yeah.
No, I just liked it because especially because early in the week we would have formations, and because that's how I like to break down film is we didn't run the spread like y'all did, because it'll be a little bit different there. We ran a lot of 12 personnel, so you watch 12 personnel first with different formations. Caton and Jake both have playing experience, and they probably have been coached on how to watch film, but everyone watches film differently, and you don't really know fully. Like, I was talking to Caton, and he already has a plan in place of what he's going to do. How much will you have of all right, you need to watch this by this day? Will you kind of teach them?
That's one of the first things we do, is because a lot of times you assume these guys know how to watch film, and 9 times out of 10 they don't. And so you try to teach those guys, hey, you try and teach them, and a lot of it happens in our quarterback meetings of when I'm watching, this is what I'm looking at. And so that they see it through my eyes, and it all goes back to the same deal, as making sure we're speaking the same language. And so I don't give those guys, you need to watch this. I'll give them different things during the week, but they don't have a set schedule that they've got to watch certain things and this and that. We'll watch it all together. But I do like them doing certain things on their own, because they do know how to watch it the correct way. Yeah,
no, absolutely. That's huge. I mean, as a quarterback, it's so easy to just sit there and watch film and you're watching TV.
That's right.
And then you realize you've wasted an hour of your time. You're like, crap. That's something I learned later in my career. I mean, I knew how to watch film, but then when you really break it, it's very simple to break down. I want to give a shout out to Wayne Hardy Law. Call 1-800-INJURED if you've been in a car accident. Look, you're a popular person if you get in a car accident. Insurance adjusters and lawyers are going to be calling you. Make the call to Wayne Hardy Law at 1-800-INJURED. They'll treat you like family, Earl.
That's the Wayne Hardy difference?
Absolutely. That's the Wayne Hardy difference. So shout out to those guys for supporting the show. Also, our friends at Mattamuskeet, look, we hype them up every week. They got everything country, classy, golf. We've shown it all. And now college, too. There's no reason for you not to be wearing some Mattamuskeet Goose Club gear. Check out their socials and MattamuskeetGooseClub.com for more information. But and there's some giveaways here soon on our Twitter. Check it out. Shout out to Mattamuskeet Goose Club. Thank you guys for supporting the show. the burn the boats movement that you've like literally started. Where did you get that from? I mean, I'm a huge fan of like Vikings and stuff, so I've heard about it. But what made you, kind of implement that here?
So it was funny story. It was written on a board of ours at Ole Miss. And I have no idea who wrote it or how it got up there, but I saw it up there. And so this is like last summer, so a year ago today. And I looked at it, so I looked up the story, read about it, whatever. And then once this deal started going, I read more into it, and I was like, that makes a ton of sense to me. And really where it in my mind, where it made a ton of sense and where it was, obviously it's relatable here because of the Pirates and all that, but more so in the world of what college football is today, like you got guys coming from all over the place, and it's no longer a deal of where, it used to be you had a quarter of your roster leave every year, and you were replacing it with 20 to 25 freshmen, and you had to teach those guys the culture and what you wanted and all that. Well, that is gone in college football. Yeah. Now you're adding somewhere between 50 to 60 players probably, and half your roster's gone. You got a ton of new people. And so for me, it was a way to basically, all right, Caton House, you may have played at Michigan State last year. Winston Wright, you may have been at Florida State. Anthony Smith, you may have been at NC State. Rajay Harris, you may have been an East Carolina Pirate. Coach Baker, you may have been an Ole Miss Rebel. That does not matter. None of that matters. And for us, it was a great way to signify and that's where I really meant for it to stay, was in our room, and just for those guys to know, like, one way or another, and this is why the great thing about football, we all chose to be here. I chose to come here. You guys chose to come here to be an East Carolina Pirate. And so the old way of doing things, the way you did it, the way I talked about doing things, that's all over with. And we all have one common goal. And, I told them the story of, they burned the boats, and they had no choice.
Yep.
They had no choice but to go accomplish the mission. And for us, that means going 1-0 every week and doing whatever it takes to go do that. And so that's kind of where it started. It's not like we go in there and we're breaking out on burn the boats every time or anything, but it was a good way back in January for us to really, I wanted them to know I was all in. And I chose to come here. I wanted to be here. And I wanted our guys to buy in as fast as possible. Because that is one thing that we talk about a lot in our room, is we're in a race against ourselves to see how good we can get by August 31st. And you're not going to be as good as you want to be if you're looking over your shoulder, like thinking, maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have done that. So we had to be all in. Our guys had to be all in. And I truly feel like we're moving in the right direction to do that.
Got me ready to play, man. I'm jealous I didn't get to play for you. I wish I could have, but we're pulling for you. I appreciate you for joining the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've ignited a lot of excitement, and these quarterbacks have, obviously, so we're excited to watch you play.
I appreciate it.
Yep. What an interview with John David Baker. Man, he gets me excited. Talking about burn the boats there at the end. Represents Pirate Nation. Look, we needed some young energy. He brought it, the quarterbacks. Hopefully we'll bring it. Hopefully the whole offense in the Pirates this year will bring it. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Look, that interview was so good. We're not going to talk about anything else. The interview was the show, so shout out to him for making that happen. I love talking X's and O's with guys who actually know what they're talking about. Not a little local politics guys. Not that guy right there. So he was locked in. So hope you enjoyed the show. Shout out to our sponsors, and we'll see you next week.